You're listening to Let's Stay Together, a podcast about Fruits Basket by Natsuki Takaya. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And today we're discussing chapters 52 and 53 of Fruits Basket. You know, in case you're new to this podcast and you haven't listened to the other 51 chapters.
Someone out there's like, I thought this was a Naruto podcast.
Someone out there's like, oh, I thought this was a podcast about fruit baskets. No, this is about a manga series, as I just said. We're going to do our summary and discussion, as we always do, and then a spoilery discussion after, or music. So, Chapter 52. On the cover of Chapter 52, I just want to point out that there's an adorable illustration of Shishou putting a coat on baby Kyo, which is great. Sometimes I call out the illustration, sometimes I don't, but this one I was like, oh, it's so cute.
I like the one a couple of chapters ago that had like Kyo and Yuki doing yard work for some reason.
Oh yeah, they look really grumpy about it too. Kyo is like grimacing, and Yuki's like, or maybe Kyo is the one wiping sweat off of his brow or something. But they do look very grumpy, which is kind of how I feel when I'm doing yard work. So I understand. So Chapter 52 opens with Kyo and Tohru walking together, not to the dojo, but to Shishou's house where he lives, as Kyo explains to her. Tohru narrates it's her first time visiting Shishou's house. And there's an adorable flashback to the night before where Kyo is like, Shishou says he wants you to come over, will you? And Tohru sparkles with joy, and then she's like, yes! And in the background, Shigure is like, a date?
You want to go on a date to my dad's house?
Yeah. He just said Shishou wants you to come over. He didn't even invite her. Like himself. Kyo tells her not to get her hopes up. It might be pretty boring, and she's like, it couldn't possibly be. I'm very happy just to be able to share a meal together. Kyo doesn't respond right away, but eventually he smiles and says, you're an easy girl to please. They arrive at Shishou's house and take off their shoes, and Kyo calls for Shishou. And Tohru is like, what's that smell? And Kyo bolts to the kitchen where Shishou is burning something and reading Shigure's book at the same time like a psycho. He's like, since Tohru-san's come all this way, I thought it'd be nice if I cooked for her. And meanwhile, Kyo in the background is like, fire! Put out the fire! And he like takes care of things and pants and runs around the kitchen. They all eventually sit at the table and catch up, and Tohru is like, you really did cut off your ponytail, and he's like, yes, it's gone, and there's like a little sad chibi panel of her reacting to it being gone. It just says like, gone. Kyo was like, why did you bother cooking? So he's still yelling at Shishou for trying to cook. Even when you don't read, your cooking isn't that good, and Shishou looks contemplative, and he's like, I thought I could do it today, and Kyo was like, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. Tohru offers to make lunch, and Shishou is like, I humbly request that you do. And Kyo was like, you can't, what? Kyo was like, what? You can't just ask your guest to make food for you. So Tohru goes to open up the fridge to find something to cook, but much like a celebrity home on Cribs, it's completely empty. Is that a reference people will even understand? I don't cook much for myself, for obvious reasons, Shishou explains. Tohru miraculously finds enough ingredients to make curry, and Shishou offers to help, but of course Kyo shuts him down. Kyo's like, I'll help, and he shoves Shishou off to the side, and it's like, you just watch. Tohru's excited that Kyo's going to help, and then she comments to Shishou about how good Kyo's cooking is, and says that the rice porridge that he made for her once tasted very good. And there's like a beautiful ghosty panel where Tohru looks happy, and Shishou like raises his eyebrow, and Kyo looks embarrassed, and Shishou says, Kyo made it for you? And Tohru says yes, and then he's like, I see, and smiles, a charming dad smile. Shishou on second thought, get out, Kyo says, and shoves him out while Tohru is in the background. Kyo is like so embarrassed by this whole exchange. It's pretty great. Out in the hall, Shishou chuckles, and a boy or like another young looking guy. I don't know if he's like a teenager. I don't know how old he's supposed to be. Probably older than Kyo, but still young. I don't know.
Seems like he like works for a living, so.
Yeah, I don't think he's in high school like all these other kids in this story. But yeah, he walks up and asks what he's doing in the hall, and Shishou says that he's been banished. So the guy like peeks open into the kitchen, and he sees Kyo and Tohru together. Shishou chastises him, now, Kunimitsu, spying is a nasty habit. And the guy, Kunimitsu, says that Kyo looks happy. I wasn't sure that he'd ever be able to open up like that to anyone but you, Kazuma-san. Recently, he's even been talking to me a lot. I'm glad. But then the phone rings, and Kunimitsu takes off to answer it, and Shishou smiles. Shishou thinks back. This time last year, he wouldn't even try to lift his face, let alone smile. He was full of despair. He was filled with nothing but the scent of darkness that resembled death. And we see Shishou's memory. Kyo sits on the ground, shoeless, dirty as if he's been outside for a long time. Kazuma approaches him and touches his shoulder. Kyo doesn't react, like he doesn't look up. Kazuma lifts him by the arm. We see a close-up of Kyo's face. There's blood on his cheek, and tears are falling from his eyes. Kunimitsu returns and says the person who called was Kyo's father. He looks concerned as he explains that Kyo's father wants to talk to Kazuma about something. That was all that he said. And on a day when Kyo is here, after all this time, what could he want to talk about? Shishou looks down, clearly saddened, and thinks, I can guess too easily what he'd want to talk about, and it makes me feel sick. Shishou enters the kitchen as Tohru and Kyo peel potatoes and says that he has to leave, but he'll be back as soon as possible, and apologizes. Kyo stands up looking a bit concerned and asks if something happened. Shishou forces a smile and tells him not to worry. And Tohru leans out of the kitchen and comments on their kind of like friendly bickering as they leave. Because they're like an Oyabaka and Kobaka, Kunimitsu says, and Tohru freaks out since they haven't met yet, and he was just like beside her in the hall. There's a translation note explaining what Oyabaka and Kobaka is. I mean, Oya means parent and Ko means child, so it's like a stupid parent, a stupid child, and it's apparently it's frowned upon. The note says that in Japan it's frowned upon to publicly compliment members of your family or your own employees with them there, because it's embarrassing for the person being complimented, of course. So the term Oyabaka refers to a parent who foolishly goes on and on about their child's accomplishments, and Kobaka would be a child that goes on and on about their parents. So it's really funny. So he just says, like, they're both dumb and they're both, like, doting on each other. I thought it was cute.
Mm-hmm.
The boy, the guy, whatever, the young man, the young lad introduces himself.
The fella.
What?
I said the fella.
The fella, yeah. Kunimitsu introduces himself to Tohru, and he explains that he's Shishou's student / personal secretary. He says he's known Kyo since he was little. Like this one time when Kyo cried because of a stain in the kitchen, but Kyo, of course, comes just in time to sass Kunimitsu. And Kunimitsu is like, right, the third wheel is leaving, and he takes off while Kyo grumps. So even Kyoken got scared and cried when he was little, Tohru says. And he's like, of course I did. And then mumbles, damn it, making me look bad. Tohru finds the stain and touches it on the wall and is like, is this it? I can see why you were scared. It almost looks like a face. And then she's like, I'm sorry, maybe you're still scared of it. And he's like, of course I'm not. She laughs, and he kind of grimaces a little. He looks a little forlorn and remembers when he was scared as a child. Cosmo holds Kyo and says, it's nothing to be afraid of. I'm sure it'll stop being scary when your body and your heart get bigger. Kyo puts his hand above Tohru's on the wall and wonders, when I'm older, will I be able to overcome my fears? She looks up at him, eyes wide, and he looks at the wall, seeming lost in thought. Enough slacking, let's make lunch, he says suddenly and smacks her in the forehead, and she goes, yo, which is... She laughs and is like, I never made a sound like that before. It's pretty funny. And Kyo's like, want to hear it again? And then they laugh. So we transition away. We transition out on the narration, or maybe it's the continuation of Kyo's thought. Will I be able to change the future? We cut to another traditional looking house. In what seems to be a darkened room, Shishou meets with Kyo's father. Cosmo rests his clenched fists on his lap, and Kyo's father smokes. Kyo's father says, the previous cat was your grandfather. You should understand better than anyone. The cat needs to be confined. Kyo is being given an extraordinary amount of freedom, but that will end when he graduates from high school. After that, he has to live his entire life until he dies in the main house, in that deep, dark room just for him. He won't be allowed outside anymore. Like your grandfather, he won't be able to marry. Alone, his whole life, as the cat deserves. Cosmo Dono, when the time comes, we need your cooperation. We can't let him get away. Even so, Cosmo says, calmly picking up his tea. It's a little early to be discussing this. He still has another year before graduation. I'm anxious, Kyo's father says, standing up suddenly. When I think of that thing living outside, as it does now, I get anxious. That thing is a monster who, it's practically a fact that killed his own mother, who killed my wife. I'll never forgive it, and all that pain I've had to endure. But that thing doesn't even have a shred of guilt. Why? Why is it that such a thing is allowed to live? It's all that thing's fault. It's all that thing's fault that everything fell apart. It's that thing's fault that everything fell apart, and yet... You resemble him, Cosmo says, much to his father's shock, probably, remembering Kyo saying that everything that happened to him was Yuki's fault. You resemble the old Kyo, unable to bear his anxieties and fears. He would stop his ears and close his eyes and force them onto other people, but that boy is changing. He's finally risen above the despair and is starting to move forward to grow, Cosmo says, thinking of Kyo and Tohru smiling in the kitchen earlier. Maybe it's time that you grew up too, Cosmo tells Kyo's father, who is quite perturbed. You're so eager to blame your son. Do you not reflect upon yourself? Are you afraid of the blood that might be on your own hands? Is that why you cry for respite? Are you saying it's all my fault? Kyo's father asks. Kazuma stands as well. I'm asking how you come to blame him for everything, Kazuma says. You talk as if you're his father, but I know what you're about. You just took that thing in for the money. Anyone who raises a member of the Zodiac, even if it's the cat, is set for life. No matter how much you hate him, Kazuma says, not making any reply to that comment. I'm happy to see him grow. I couldn't possibly help you confine him. How dare you, Kyo's father says. The head of the family won't be happy when he hears about this. Kazuma replies, like a badass. I don't care who's against me. I would protect Kyo single-handedly if I had to. You, who cannot have the heart of a parent, would never understand. That's my humble opinion. Kazuma leaves as Kyo's dad yells after him. You think you can get away with this? You think you can stop this? Shishou imagines Kyo and Tohru smiling again and remembers his father's words, he won't be allowed outside. And Shishou thinks, the scent of darkness I felt back then is here, among the Sohma as well. Their hearts stagnate oppressively. Kyo himself probably realizes that the future has been prepared for him. I have no desire to send him back. I don't want to make him stand in that darkness ever again. Back at Shishou's house, Kyo and Tohru are chatting. Kyo says he hates beaches and pools. He asks if Tohru can swim, and she's like, I just have to remember how to do the breathing. And he's like, you're going to get swept away by the ocean. Kyo notices that Shishou is back, and they all greet each other. Shishou said that he had to go and listen to some tiresome complaints, and he pats Kyo on the head and says, they will not touch you as long as I'm around. He smiles, and Kyo is like, what? Still have a long way to go. I will protect you, he thinks. Kazuma asks about the curry, and Kyo sasses him, and he's like, that's why we were waiting. And then we end on that scene of them. That's the end of chapter 52. I feel like that was a real roller coaster ride of feelings. We'll talk about it, though. Let's talk about chapter 53 really quickly first. So chapter 53 opens on a woman in high heels in the narration. I can't run away forever from the secrets that I keep under a tight lid. And so, Momiji says, tomorrow we set out with a boom. Get ready for some va-va-voom. And Shigure and Yuki are like, what? Momiji explains that he went ahead and booked another Sohma vacation home for all of them to visit. Starting tomorrow, we're going on a fantastic Shishou vacation. And Shigure is like, Shishou vacation? That sounds nice. And he imagines his version of a Shishou vacation, which is secretaries, because Shishou is a pun that also, Shishou means like summer vacation, but also means secretary. I'm making gestures at the microphone, but you can't see me. Tohru worries that it's too extravagant again, of course, but they convince her, and she says that she wants to go very much. When Momiji smiles brightly. Stag beetles, he says. We have to catch stag beetles. And she's like, yes. And Shigure says that sounds fun and wonders if he should come along. And Yuki's like, don't you have to work? He's like, nope. And Yuki's like, I don't believe you and you're making me sick. Please stop. Shigure asks about the kids' homework, like a responsible adult for once, and Momiji and Yuki say they're almost done, but Tohru panics in gloomy silence. So they end up setting up in her room to help her finish her physics homework, and Momiji is like, don't give up, fight, fight. And she's like, I'll do my best so that we can all go to the summer home. Momiji's like, for the stag beetles, and she's like, for the fireworks. And Yuki oddly wonders if it would matter that much if they just postponed another day. Momiji realizes that he hasn't told Kyo yet, so he goes off to do that, and Tohru warns him that he might be in a mood. Yuki glances over at Toru's shoulder and sees the hat. So we haven't seen the hat in a while, right? In the manga, at least. We've seen the hat a lot, but not recently in the manga.
Yeah.
Momiji barges into Kyo's room and asks if he's sick, but he's like, I'm just tired. I don't have the energy to deal with you. Go away, he says. He keeps his eyes covered with his arm. I understand, Momiji says. We're going on a trip tomorrow, so get ready, okay? He yells, and Kyo is like, you don't understand at all. And then sasses Momiji for making plans again without asking them and bonks him on the head. Momiji confirms that Kyo will come, and Kyo is like, shut up. Hey, Kyo, he says, and Kyo is like, I told you to shut up. I never said I wouldn't go. And he grumps as Momiji stands back in the doorway. You've gotten nicer, Momiji says with a soft smile. And Kyo's like, huh? And Momiji's like, nothing. And then asks him where to catch stag beetles, other than a department store. And Kyo's like, are you for real? Also, you can catch stag beetles in a department store in Japan. Like,
I guess you buy them. Someone else says something about buying them.
Yeah, he's like, why don't you just buy them? I don't know.
Like a pet store kind of thing. I don't know.
I think that you can buy them. I don't know. I wouldn't know, actually. It's the one thing we didn't look for when we were in a department store.
I know there's a big like bug catching culture in Japan.
That I know for sure, but I assumed that you had to go out to the wilderness to catch them. Not to a department store, but maybe you can. I don't know.
I just found an article from around like 1999 online about beetles in Japan and stuff. It says, how do children who live in the city with few wooded areas get their beetles? The answer is simple for them, too. They go to the department store. Many of the outlets sell a wide variety of insects. One large department store in Tokyo sells Japanese rhinoceros beetles for about 800 yen for a male and 300 for a female. For stag beetle, the price is around 1,000 yen for males and 300 for females.
Wow. So you can get your own beetle for less than $10.
Yep, and go get yourself a little beetle friend.
Mm-hmm. And then when you train it, you can level it up, and then you can eventually evolve it to a bigger beetle.
Yeah, most of these things are from around that time period, like around circa 2000. But so I guess it seems
maybe it was like a thing in the 2000s.
Of a thing back then. I think it's still something of a thing, but
I would imagine it's still something of a thing.
Yeah. How to care for your beetle, pet beetles in Japan.
How do you care for them?
With love.
This has been Animal Break with Ellen and Kayla. Back in Tohru's room, the wind rattles her window, and she tells Yuki that she finally understands whatever physics homework they were working on or whatever. Yuki says that's good, and then he fidgets with his pencil. He looks at the hat again, and the hat looks back. No. That hat, Yuki says, gripping the pencil tight. Is it yours, Honda-san? And Tohru explains where it came from. It belongs to a boy that she met when she was little who helped her find her way back home. Yuki looks uncomfortable. He keeps his arm kind of like crossed in front of him on the table that they're working at, and he also covers his mouth with his other hand. He's like still kind of gripping the pencil in. It's a precious memory, Tohru says, smiling, because I was really happy that he helped me. Yuki lowers his hand and his eyes widen, and we see Tohru at that time as a youth, and I think like her words from earlier, even if you do forget. It reminds me of that scene where she's like, if you do forget, be my friend in the future or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
what I was thinking.
Okay, well, at least we're on the same page. I don't know if it's a quote from something else, but I'm pretty sure it's that. He's about to say something, but is cut off by the wind blowing something through Tohru's window and smashing it. Momiji, who's in the other room reading a book about bugs, and Kyo hear it, and then Tohru freaks out, of course. Kyo and Momiji run in to like check on what's going on, and Tohru is freaking out, of course, and Kyo notices her clutching the hat. Momiji helps by turning to the window, arms raised, and shouting, "Stop, oh mighty wind, I command you!" Which is very effective. Kyo watches as Yuki closes the curtain, and then Tohru goes and apologizes to Shigure while all the kids kind of start to clean things up in her room. When Tohru leaves Shigure's like office or whatever, he goes to the sliding door, and outside we catch a glimpse of hair flowing in the wind, and then a page reveals that it is Rin, who we met 2 chapters ago? I don't know, I didn't count.
Yeah,
I'm just
it was the end of the previous volume, I think.
Okay, so yeah, like whatever, 4 chapters ago. Yes. She's standing outside in the yard in knee-high boots, a miniskirt, and a shirt with a lot of cleavage. Very few people in this series have cleavage, so or like wear things that have visible cleavage. So I was like, wow, I forgot.
Yeah. It's like more than cleavage. It's like the entire top half of the boobs.
Yeah.
Does that still count as cleavage?
Her like boobs are showing, but not her nibs. Is that it?
Basically.
Just in case you didn't actually read this and you want like a just like a vision of what we're talking about, it's a lot of cleavage. It's very intense.
Yeah.
I've heard tell that like cleavage is a no-no in Japan. You can show as much leg as you want, but cleavage is not acceptable.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Okay. Rin stands in the yard wearing knee-high boots, a mini skirt, and a shirt with a lot of cleavage, as I said, and then also like leather bracelets. I almost wrote like sweatbands before. Anyway, and also like a cross necklace.
So do an exercise montage in the 80s.
Yes, that's what the leather boots are for. For your information, I wasn't the one who broke the glass, she says. Shigure smiles and is like, I know. Long time no see. Oh, and congratulations on leaving the hospital, Rin. Well, come inside. Being in this weather could affect your health. But she steps up onto the porch in her boots and he chastises her. Of course. And she holds his back like the belt of his kimono. And she says, you know, don't you, why I came here? What I'm talking about? What I want? You already know, don't you, Gurini? Well, he says, looking sly, do I know? I don't know if I can live up to your expectations. Answer me, she says. Answer me, Gurini. I wonder, do I look like I'm that simple, he asks, not looking at her. No, you don't, she says. Ha, Shigure looks over, his face dark and cunning. So what, are you just stupid? Or is the foolishness part of your plan? She kneels beside him. Now then, he says, holding his chin, how shall we begin? We cut away to Toru's room where they've covered up the window and Kyo worries about her sleeping in there. And she's like, when there was a hole in the ceiling, I had no problem sleeping here. Just to remind him of his past mistakes, and Momiji teases him about it as well. Yuki sees Toru smiling, then we see some more narration of his thoughts. He remembers her words because it's a precious memory. Yuki looks away and thinks what will happen when I open the closed lid. We see a child running, a hole in a wall, the Sohma gate, the boy in the hat huffing and huffing, and then a page flip reveals that that boy in the hat was Yuki.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my god, it's like we didn't know it all this time.
We'll go back to when we first saw it in like scanlations and be like, what?
Oh my god. Yeah, let's all like teleport back to like the year 2000 or whatever this got scanlated or released, or who even knows.
Yeah, probably like 2004-ish, I don't know.
And probably everybody was like, I knew it was him because he said this thing in this one chapter. That's probably what I imagine would happen. What will be lost, what will be gained, the narration says. And we close on Shigure and Rin really, really close together. Their faces are right up next to each other like they're gonna smooch. Good, I still made you laugh. Okay. Oh, that's the end of the chapter. Proper. I shouldn't have ended it on that note, but that's okay. There's also a short at the end, which I did make notes for. I don't know, we didn't previously discuss, but I made a couple of short. There's a little short at the end of this, and I actually didn't check if it's in the collector's edition or whatever, but there's a little short at the end where the kids all stop in the rain and they decide to tell scary stories to pass the time. Momiji is super excited because summer's the best time to tell blood-burgling scary stories, and Haru corrects them to blood-girdling, but of course they're both wrong. Everyone's cool with telling scary stories, totally cool with it, especially Tohru, who is panic hugging her backpack again, just like in the haunted house from a couple chapters ago. And turns out that Hana, of all people, doesn't like scary stories either, which shocks everyone. Anyway, Momiji decides to tell a story, and the story that he tells is a guy going to get a drink and there's a cockroach in the cup. Oh, sorry, I spoiled the shock. Toru's like, that was the scariest story of all time. And Momiji looks gleeful. Kyo and Yuki are like, ew, and Hana and Haru just like don't react.
Yeah. I think Toru actually didn't say anything because Momiji's covering her ears for it.
Oh yeah, right.
Which is cute.
It's adorable. Haru is like, the next chapter is about grated cheese. Oh, it turns out it's from a book, and Haru is like, the next chapter is about grated cheese. And Yuki's like, that's disgusting. What kind of book did you read? And then we cut to Shigure in the house, and the trio come in. Toru is still holding her security backpack close, and Yuki scolds him, and Kyo is like, you sicko. I knew you were depraved, but I never imagined how low you could sink. And that's the end of the chapter. When they revealed the story, I thought that was really funny, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, like I said, these chapters were a real roller coaster ride of feelings.
Before we start the real conversation,
yes,
I think we can up 2 of our counters.
Okay, I'm ready.
Damage to Shigure's house.
Yeah.
Because we got a broken window.
Did you see my note that says Tor's window, ... a tree, question mark?
Yeah. See, for once, no person was actually responsible.
Yes. I also added to the counter Shigure who broke the fourth wall in some recent thing we talked about, I remember.
Yeah. And I guess I'll need a judgment call from you on this one. Can we count that little slap thing on Toru's forehead as one of the love taps?
Oh yeah, we can call them love taps now because they're clearly flirting with each other in this one chapter. Yeah, sure. Kyo bopping Toru. He hit her on the head. It's Kyo bopping Toru on the head. So I'm gonna go ahead and increase that. For people playing at home, that's 6 times.
Yeah. At least I think that count might be low. We'll have to go through.
I still think it might be low. Well, I mean, the longer that we wait to do that, the more the more off it's gonna be. The longer it's gonna take. I'll just have to go. He didn't start doing it for a long time. Probably not till after the true form. So, we'll have to go back. I'll have to go back and look. It's fine. Good. Yeah, everything's fine. Cockroaches and drinks. Everything's fine. But yeah, towards the window got broken. The house got broken by a tree. So. Yes. So exciting. I like how the first thing Rin says is like, I didn't do it.
Yeah, she's like, that wasn't me.
And Shigure's like, duh.
He's like out there with a branch, just throwing it at the house.
The rattling of the window was like her hitting it with little pebbles.
Yeah. I was going to make a poltergeist joke about the tree coming through the window, but
Oh, I forgot that happens.
yeah.
Do you wanna do me the honor of starting this discussion? I'm shimmying my shoulders in a coy way, but you can't see it.
Okay. So you seem to be struggling with the whole audio format concept today. Anyway.
Anyway.
So, should we talk about the cat's isolation?
Oh, you wanna dive straight into the sadness? Let's do it. I'm ready. Then we can end with like the cute stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how it works. The first chapter was more sad stuff.
It was kind of a bummer, except for all the cute
Yeah.
moments. But yeah, let's dive in there.
So I think that's the first like confirmation of that. We got some allusions to it when we saw Kazuma's grandfather,
Yep.
who was in that sketchy little sad house
Yes.
in his flashback.
It's just the way you describe it is funny to me for some reason.
He's got like broken concrete on the porch.
Yeah, we saw him. What we saw was that he reached out his. Well, we saw the sketchy house. We just were like, and then we see. I remember when we recorded it, I was like, and then we see a house with a broken concrete thing.
Yeah.
Shifty eyes. But yeah, that was making reference to this, and also the time where.
Yeah, and we saw him like reaching his hand out.
Yeah, reaching his hand out of the window.
Had some implications that he couldn't leave, or for some reason.
Yes. Because he's cursed. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I guess we could have inferred that back then, but I feel like when I was, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's super clear that he's like actually isolated rather than just being like ostracized and maybe sickly or something. So
that's true.
Yeah.
What baby Kazuma says is like, I don't want that, you're cursed, which is like, okay, well, we know that he's cursed, so yeah.
Yeah. But now you get confirmation that it's because apparently the cat gets locked away after they reach, I guess, adulthood or whatever.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, I don't know, who knows, maybe they did it earlier and they just decided that Kyo, because of whatever reason, can go to high school or something. Like maybe Kazuma argued for it or something, but
yeah.
But yeah, he could have, who knows, he could have been, I mean, it could be that he was locked, like, Kazuma's grandfather could have been locked in there for who knows how long, right?
Yeah.
So.
Because there would have been a bit of a generation gap, so it might have been a like more recent thing.
Yeah.
It's like Kazuma's grandfather would be a fair bit older than Kyo if they were both alive.
Yeah. Did you notice that, speaking of the room, they called it, not Yuki, wow. Kyo's dad specifically called it the room just for him. Which of course is also a reference to like the room where Yuki, where Akito isolates Yuki that we saw in chapter 20.
Yeah, I know we can talk. I think we've kind of talked around it a bit, but when we're talking about all the things that Kyo and Yuki have in common, that whole like, being locked away and isolated kind of thing.
Yes, I definitely think this whole exchange is interesting. Well, like, so we have the obvious like reveal is that Kyo is going to be confined when he finishes high school, so we got a deadline on that. And of course now we understand why, like you said, that Kazuma's grandfather was isolated as well back in the True Form arc. But like the thing that's interesting is, so yeah, it's specifically called out that he's going to be isolated just like Yuki was isolated, we saw as a child. The one thing that's interesting about this is that I checked the Japanese for both of those scenes. So like the one where Akito is like, the room just for you or whatever, and it says that it's like an isolated room. In this one it just says like whatever else he says, which is that it's like a dark room. He has to live in the main house in that deep dark room just for him. But like what it says in the Japanese is just like in the main house in that deep dark room or something like that. So I feel like it's a little addition, but I mean obviously I think they're thematically linked. I think it's actually a good addition to add that in the English version to like tie them together thematically. I mean, this is the first time we're meeting Kyo's like biological father.
I can't remember if we saw him like briefly.
Oh, we did.
True Form flashback or.
Yeah, we did. I just called him a man.
Yeah.
Also,
but yeah, we didn't get a clear look at him back then.
He's like on the ground. Like we didn't get a good.
Yeah, we saw him like I think it's when like at the funeral when Kyo is yelling about.
Yeah, essentially yes. Kyo's yelling at him. Yeah, so he was there in that scene. You're right. I don't think we got a like not like this. Like we didn't get to see I think like a good shot of his face. I don't know. I definitely forgot
Yeah.
to check
And we
that.
didn't
But
get to see what a dick he is.
no, we didn't. What an asshole. I feel like I wrote in my notes Kyo's dad is like scary. It's it's I feel like what's really interesting to me this time reading it through is how much the family has like indoctrinated him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's supposed to be taking care of this child. I mean, I guess he. Oh yeah, we heard. He says that Kyo killed his mother. We haven't heard that before yet, right?
Not in that word. I think they were saying like, oh, she was.
Oh, that's right.
Like
She
the
committed
burden.
suicide, right?
Yeah, she committed suicide because of
That's what they
having
said.
to raise the cat. But
Definitely
no one's been
checked
like
this.
been like his dad being like he killed her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. Sorry, you're right. His dad is like, oh yeah, his dad is blames everything on him.
Mm-hmm.
Which Kazuma aptly points out is just like Kyo blaming everything on Yuki. But yeah, I think it's really interesting how indoctrinated he is. He's like he has to be locked up. That thing has to be locked up.
Mm-hmm.
He's like I'm scared that he's like out in society. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I just feel like I don't think that that's all guilt. I mean, I think that that's also or not guilt. I don't think it's all anger. I mean, I feel like my personal interpretation of this, based on some other things that we've seen, is like, he's just as indoctrinated as like baby Cosmo was, or like anybody is. You know, a bunch of people have been by the family. I think, like how they're all being sassy, like all the like kind of main house maids or whatever, like Momiji's always talking about overhearing them gossiping, or like we heard they were mean about Haru, they were mean about Ritsu. I feel like Kyo's dad, I guess he's a parent of someone who's also cursed. Seems like he's also been really, I think, like, I don't know, indoctrinated is the word I'm choosing to use, by the family as well.
Yeah, I do think like he's obviously just a dick, but I think
yes.
the culture in the Sohma family makes it easier for someone like him to just put all the blame for his problems on Kyo.
Yeah, they enable him to continue to put his blame on the blame for things on Kyo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's probably just a dick.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, because you'd hope that like in a less fucked up culture that people would be like, hey, dude, that's not really cool to say to your kid.
Totally. They're like, yeah, obviously. Like everybody's attitude is like,
yeah, obviously it's the cat's fault.
He's the one who did it. It's the cat. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that was really disappointing. But then Kazuma's like, I'll defend Kyo. I was gonna say till I die, but that's not what he said.
Yeah, like it was just like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. When he's like, we need your help to confine him.
Yeah, he's like, no, and then he just leaves. Basically,
he says
like,
it like really calmly. He's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. But
yeah, the other interesting thing is, basically, Kyo's dad is like freaking out. He's like, I'm anxious. Like he's smoking. I feel like it's all adds this atmosphere of like paranoia that he has about Kyo, and Shisho's like, no, he's just a nice kid. Like. I'm not going to help you confine him to like a dark room in the back of the house or whatever. Like it's not going to happen. And he's also like, it's kind of early for you to bring this up like randomly. And like, what do they never talk or anything? Like I guess not, because he's just like he just called out of the blue.
Yeah.
According to or that's what it seemed like at least. So it doesn't seem like they've
Seems
talked.
Like it might be like occasionally though, just because like the reaction's kind of like this fucker again from like,
basically from
Kunimitsu.
Kunimitsu knows even Kunimitsu looks so upset when he comes back from the phone. He's like, I don't know, and he called. Are you gonna go see him? Like he's sort of trepidatious about the whole thing too. So wait, sorry, we also met Kunimitsu. No, wait, do we have more things to say? Probably. The other interesting thing that I feel like we learned in that conversation was that they said that the people who raise Zodiac kids get paid. We also heard about Kyo and Kagura and Yuki's bank accounts in like an earlier episode, so
yeah,
it's kind of interesting how the family also like financially, I don't know, like supports them, but I feel like it's support with like a strings attached kind of situation. But yeah, it seems like there's I feel like we've heard some things about money before, but this is the first time I feel like there's ever been a real overtly stated like financial element to any of the Sohma stuff. I mean, it's obvious they're like rich as fuck,
Yeah.
as we've seen, and like Toru's commented on and stuff like that. But
Let's talk about like the kids' banks accounts and everything. Maybe think in combination with the next chapter. It's like Momiji keeps like renting summer homes. It's like
yeah, it seems like he's like rolling in money.
Yeah.
Like, how do they rent them? The whole onsen for them, right?
Like he booked a like onsen trip, and then he's like, I rented a summer home for.
Yeah, you're right. He's all he just dropped a shit ton of money to like rent them a whole house or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess since he's not really like living with his parents anymore, he just has like unfettered access to it. Maybe.
Maybe, and he also like. I mean, I think he said he lives in the main house, right? So he probably it's not like he has his own like living expenses or anything. So he's just getting like. I don't know, like some kind of allowance. Yeah. And he's also not doing property damage to Shigure's house constantly, so he's not blowing his money like Kyo. Yeah, but I think it's interesting that there's also like this sort of financial element, and that you know, Kyo's dad is like, oh, you just took him in for the money, which is interesting because we haven't heard that angle before about, regardless of, I mean, obviously Kazuma is a saint, but we've just never seen any perspective other than that about him taking Kyo in, so it's kind of interesting to learn about that too.
Yeah.
So it's like not only are they controlling their relationships, but also like their financial dependency as well.
Yeah. And Kazuma seems to like live within pretty limited means. I mean, he's obviously got the
the dojo business,
expected Sohma like comfort, but doesn't seem to be like doing anything extravagant with it. So he's probably like, if he is getting paid, he's probably saving that money for Kyo.
Maybe, yeah. He's probably doing something responsible with it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
The house doesn't seem like crazy, and he runs his own business and stuff, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure how many students he has or whatever, but it seems like all the Sohma kids train there, so.
Yeah.
It's got a steady stream of Sohma kids to fund his business, but yeah, I don't know.
Like all these children who need hitting things therapy.
The best kind of therapy. Is that everything that we can say right now about Kyo's dad and this whole scene?
Probably.
Yeah. Or those other notes that you had? Probably. Well, like for that.
For that part, yeah.
Yeah. I was just gonna say. So we also met. To transition to a less shitty topic, we also we met Kunimitsu. He seems pretty cool.
Yeah. It's nice to see people who like Kyo. Like
that's true.
Like he seems to have a fairly fond relationship toward Kyo. It seems like he's a little older than Kyo and like remembers him as a young kid and is teasing him about it a little bit. So
yeah,
kind of like an older brother kind of thing.
Yeah, he definitely seems like he's like that. He's been around. Yeah, he does know him well. And also he seems like, I love how he's like, oh, Kyo talks to me more, and like he says a bunch of stuff. I don't know, I just think it's very sweet. I kind of forgot how involved he was. Like, I know he's there, especially like I think this is the first time we're meeting him. He might have secretly been in like the background in like some of the True Form stuff where Kyo comes home or whatever, and he's talking to, I don't remember if their heads were there or whatever. The students, remember? Yeah. There's a little panel of them, but yeah, he's a new recurring side character, and I like him in other stuff that's coming later, but
yeah,
it's just nice. I don't know.
When he's like peeking in the kitchen, like, really?
And he's like, Cosmo's like, don't spy on them, which is really funny, but I'm sure Cosmo's like dying to be there. Yeah. So cute. Yeah, they're both like, really? And like, it's very charming. You look inside, and Kyo and Tohru were just like giggling and having a great time. It's so cute. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We met Kunimitsu. He's cool. That's all I have to say about that.
Yep.
And then he called them like Oyabaka and Kobaka and freaked Tohru out, which was funny.
Yeah.
And then introduces himself.
To transition back into crappy stuff. We get that little flashback from Kazuma.
Everybody needs to get used to it.
Yeah. We get that little flashback from Kazuma of how Kyo was a year ago.
Yes.
I can't remember if we got any implications to this before, but I know we talked about it in spoilers about how, like, when Kyo's talking about how, like, oh, it was so great when I was training in the mountains with Kazuma, and we're like, he's lying.
He's definitely lying
Yeah.
to himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. This is like summer, so this is when
Mhm.
he was quote unquote training in the mountains.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're totally right. I think there's an allusion to it in the true form, like maybe chapter 34, like the last one.
Mhm.
There's at least one allusion to it, I think.
Yeah.
But it's like one panel.
Yeah. This is like
Um,
very clear that Kyo's in a bad place at that time period.
Yeah, he's not having fun fighting bears or whatever.
Yeah.
Like Shigure said. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, Yeah. And it's super I feel like he says that he was out in the woods and stuff, and I feel like what's happening in this scene, and this is speculation because I don't remember, and I don't know if it's ever described, but what it looks like is that he's been out there. Like he's got no shoes on, first of all, and he's all like grimy, like he's got like on his shirt and his pants and stuff that everything's all like roughed up, like there's stuff drawn on him, and he has like he has a bloody spot on his chin and stuff. It looks like he's been like outside, like out in the woods, and what's happening is that Cosmo's finding him. That's what it's like.
It looks like Cosmo's like just now found him, because like the first shot is him kind of at a distance from behind, and then Cosmo looking kind of surprised, and then he like touches his shoulder and then has to pull him up to his feet. So
yeah, and he just like doesn't respond.
Yeah.
It's so sad. It reminds me. I mean, of course, there's like the scene where Tohru goes and finds him as well, which is kind of the same. It's very similar. Multiple times.
Yeah.
He runs off to the woods and someone has to go pick him up. Yeah, it's just I was like, oh no. But then it's like, oh, something cute happens, and later it's like, oh no. This whole chapter. But yeah, that was very sad, and it's very must be so difficult now. But it's like we immediately, at least we like, this chapter does do, I mean, I joked about it a couple times already, but this chapter does do a nice job of balancing like the really dark things with something positive. So in all these times where we're going to something like this where it's super negative, where Shishou is remembering a time in the past where Kyo was in a really rough state, and then he immediately is like, but he's doing so much better now, and he's like smiling or whatever. It's like immediately contrasted with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like both of the darker moments in this chapter are kind of used to emphasize how far Kyo has come.
Yeah. So. I was just about to look. It's the same scene over and over again. I think that he remembers too. The one where he remembers them like smiling in the kitchen, and by them I mean Kyo and Tohru.
Yeah.
And it's contrasted with all those things. So like Kunimitsu peeks in and you see them in the kitchen smiling, and then we transition to the scene where Cosmo goes and finds him, and then it transitions back. And then then Shishou goes to talk to Kyo's dad, and then at the end of that conversation, when he's leaving, he says that boy's finally changing, and then you flip it on the next page, it's like Kyo and Tohru smiling again. In the kitchen. It's the same scene.
Yeah.
And then when he
it's the same
then
scene,
he remembers it again.
It's a different drawing. Like it's not just the same one that was in there, but yeah.
No. But then on the next time it shows up, it is the same one.
Yeah,
it's repeated.
It's the same one that he remembered.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cute because he's got like Toru's got like some kind of utensil and is cooking something, and Kyo's got like one of those little like tasting cups that they.
Yeah, they give him a little sauce cup of some kind.
Or like when they like test soup or whatever to see if it tastes good or whatever. So it's cute.
Yeah, it's very cute. In the first time when Kunimitsu peeks into the kitchen, Toru's like undoing her hair, and Kyo's holding one of her ribbons.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. The whole thing is sweet, okay? Yeah. There's a bunch of
they're obviously like, you think of like how awkward they were at the beginning, and now they're obviously like very comfortable with each other and enjoy each other's company. So
yeah, they couldn't even like Kyo he didn't even call her by her name until the 34th chapter or something, 33rd, something like that. So and now he's like holding her ribbons, and they're like touching hands, and their conversations are really casual. Like he's like, you can swim, and she's like, only if I remember to breathe. They like have these very charming, and also now they're outside, like they're at Shigure's house, or they're not at Shigure's house. So
I was gonna say it's like because they're not as like they're by themselves essentially.
Yeah,
during their like interactions in these scenes, so
we see them little by themselves. Yeah, you're right. We just see like the kind of the tail end of them being alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sweet.
Yeah, it's all cute stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember seeing this chapter in scanlations, or like before it was translated, just like the raws back in the day, like the scene
The
with them
hand
in the
touching.
kitchen with the hand touching. Yeah.
Yeah. Hand touching. Yes. They touched hands.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they can't hug, so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
like once I was reading this chapter, I was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing these.
Right. I love how Toru is like, oh, is this a scary stain? Oh, wait, you might still be afraid of it.
Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck? So
I
wonderful.
saw like, she's like, oh, even Kyo got scared and cried when he was a kid. And he's like, of course I did.
Yeah.
Like everyone does.
The whole thing is wonderful. It's just
Yeah.
so them. I feel like everybody's characters are very strongly established at this point, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like things are, I don't know. Yeah. And they're, of course, because they're alone, they're like their most, I don't know, like pure selves or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Toru's always pretty much Toru.
Yeah. But
But
Kyo's
always
the one I
kind
was
of
thinking of.
like on edge when he's got, people like Shigure and Yuki around
Yeah.
watching him. So
Yeah, exactly. Judging his every move.
yeah,
I loved Cosmo's sick burns. He's like, you're not a dad.
yeah.
I was like, ooh,
His
ouch.
humble opinion.
He like calmly sips his tea and is like, you're just like him. So wonderful. Shall we move on to the next chapter?
Sure.
In my notes, it says chapter 3, a mystery.
I don't think that'll ever not be funny to me.
No, that's why I said it. I told you my goal is just to make you laugh. Everybody else is collateral.
Collateral damage to making me laugh.
That's not true, guys. I love you too. I mean,
Should we start with serious stuff or cute stuff?
I don't know. You choose. Dealer's choice.
I guess it starts out cute and then gets serious. So let's start cute.
Okay.
I think Momiji and Kyo were really cute in this chapter.
Yes. Momiji's like, you got nicer.
Like we always liked their relationships, and they had kind of a fun little like sibling kind of bickering
Yeah,
thing
they
going
do.
on, which is cute. But
They
yeah,
do.
the cute bit where he's like he's less like harsh with them than he usually is, and Momiji's like, oh, you've gotten nicer. And then like when he's like, where do I get stag beetles out of the department store? And then the next time we see them, it's just like a panel of them both like reading a book about
Reading a book.
insects, so they're like
Yeah.
actually researching it together.
Yeah. At least Kyo is like letting him. Kyo is like, I don't know, helping him.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's cute.
Yeah, it was pretty great. I was like, ha ha ha. Yeah, and I love that he's like, Kyo's like, shut up. And then he's like, I didn't say I wouldn't go, or whatever.
Yeah. It's like, I just said shut up. I didn't say I wouldn't go.
Yeah, it was really funny. And that's when he's like, you got nicer. Yeah, it was very cute. It was very charming.
Yeah.
Yeah, their relationship continues. I think Kyo has gotten nicer, though.
Yeah.
He did, didn't he noogie him or bonk him in the head or something? He did something.
Yeah, they still have one and have a little like, wow, Kyo hit me scene, but
Yes. Yeah, they did.
but that's just their thing.
Yeah, I think it's their deal, just like hitting Toru on the head.
Yeah.
It's how he shows his affection, clearly.
Yeah. It's a slightly more violent love tap.
It's like a you're annoying, but I still like you tab.
Also, it has one. This is the chapter with one of our favorite lines, which is for the stag beetles.
Yeah. Like I was like, for the fireworks, and I was like, no, just the stag beetles.
Also, like the little like determined bunny face above
And
the for the stag beetles.
Yes, and the determined onigiri face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that was wonderful.
Also, speaking of chapter titles, they have a cute
Oh yeah, they're
title
hunting for
page of the
booze.
two of them doing some bug hunting. Momiji and
Yes.
Toru.
Yes. Not at a department store.
Yeah, out in the woods. Toru's looking very bug catcher from Pokemon.
Well, shorts are comfortable and easy to wear. Everybody knows that.
That's what I hear. I like how Yuki spends most of his life just telling people that they disgust him.
Yeah, it alternates between Shigure and Kyo.
Yeah.
I like how he's like, Shigure's like, yup, and he's like, don't say that, you're disgusting, or whatever. It's good. I was like, good, a nice Yuki sassing, that's just what I wanted today. Someone needs to bring the sass.
Yeah. It's also cute how, like, Tohru, Yuki, and Momiji just set up for a little homework session together.
I'm like, interesting. Momiji's gonna help with Toru's homework. All right, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe he's really good at math or whatever, physics or whatever it is. I mean, I think he's just trying to help so they can go on this trip. But
yeah,
I like how they're like, oh, we'll just like all get set up. Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna help. Actually, I'm gonna go help Kyo. I'm gonna go talk to Kyo.
Yeah.
Figure out how to catch stag beetles. I feel like in my head, what's happening is that he's like, yeah, we're gonna catch stag beetles, and then he suddenly realized he didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So then when he goes and talks to Kyo, he's like, wait, how do you actually catch stag beetles?
Yeah.
Are those the only cute things?
Those are the ones that I have. Do you have other cute things?
Okay. No. No, I don't.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think, so, like, so they go and help her with her homework. I like how they get conveniently interrupted. Yuki's conveniently interrupted by Toru's window shattering to pieces.
Yeah. I remember I found that panel, like, confusing at first. Was like, someone, like, throw a plate against the wall? What happened? And then...
If you look closely, you can see
about the window. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember being like, what the fuck? You can see a little tiny piece of, like, wood or whatever coming through the window. In my memory, it was, like, a big branch. But that's not what happened.
Yeah, it's like a chunk of a branch, though. It used to be a big branch.
For sure. Like, Shigure he doesn't need to do anything to the house. He just needs to have the trees trimmed. This is important. My public service announcement of the day.
Yeah. Like, he's like, maybe I should rebuild the house. I don't have enough bookshelves. Which is relatable.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely relatable. In fact, in the room, there's, like, some little, like, the equivalent of B-roll, these, like, panels where it's, like, dialogue and there's some stuff in the background where it's just, like, stacks of books, it looks like, or paper. Later. It's like, Shigure really does need to, like, get more storage for his books.
Yeah.
But, like, what happened was that interrupted Yuki's big hat reveal that he was going to tell Tohru, but then we just saw his memory instead.
So I was going to say, we learned it.
Yeah, we finally learned the deal with the hat. But another interesting thing is that Kyo was looking at the hat. So, like, now what the fuck? Now what's happening?
Yeah. Because I remember, like, you know, back before the reveal, it was a subject of debate because they'd both had, like, significant glances at the hat before, so...
Significant glances?
Yes.
Like a Jane Austen novel.
Yes.
Yeah, and, like, he's, in the scene where Tohru was first introducing the hat when Hana and Uo come over or whatever, Kyo's, like, standing outside listening or whatever, right? So they're both Yuki and Kyo are pictured in that scene. So it's set up that it could be either of them that has to do with the hat, so.
Yeah, and they both, like, have reacted to it in a way that suggests some recognition, so.
But I think the same thing happened this time, too.
Yeah, so we have the reveal that it was Yuki who was the boy, but there's still some kind of recognition from Kyo.
Yeah, it also seems like there's just more... Like, there's a bunch of, like, also, like, manga B-roll where it's, like, him running, and then we see... I mean, I guess it's just to build up that it's Yuki, but it's, like, we see the Sohma gate, and there's, like, a little hole in the fence, and, like... Yeah, anyway, I don't know. It still seems like there's a lot of drama around the hat, essentially. Due to Kyo... There's still something there. Due to Kyo's extended glances, Jane Austen glances at the hat, and... Also that kind of, like, other imagery around Yuki running or whatever when he was little. Yeah.
So, like, you kind of, like, even without all the, like, stuff that it's obviously Yuki's memory, you could kind of guess that it's Yuki just from, like, how heavily he's breathing in the flashback. Because we know he had the bad respiratory issues when he was younger.
Yes. His not asthma.
Yeah.
Whatever it was that I looked up before.
Yeah.
His weak bronchial tubes.
Somethings, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of a nice touch. But...
Yeah, he's always... I think that's... I can't remember if they showed that in flashbacks before, actually. But definitely in that one scene, yeah, you can see that it's him.
Yeah.
Huffing and puffing. It could be interpreted as just a kid running, but I think it's like because of his breathing. You want to talk about Rin?
Sure, let's talk about Rin.
I'm so excited. Actually, I'm a little confused.
The most important thing we learned about Rin this chapter is that she didn't break the window.
No, she didn't break the window. She's also like, you know why I'm here, right? So she didn't give us any information about what she's doing there, but...
Yeah, it's mysterious.
It's mysterious. I remember speculating when seeing this for the first time about their relationship. Like, what is going on with them?
Yeah.
Why? So she, like... I feel like the Sohmas, even though they can hug each other, they're not very intimate. Like, they're not very close with each other. Like, they don't touch each other a lot. Nobody does in this series. Very few people do. And so, like, she immediately comes up and, like, grabs his like, the small of his back, like, the belt on his kimono that he's wearing. And then when he sits down, and then she kneels beside him, and then at the end of the chapter, they're, like, face to face. So... I mean, like, what the fuck? Like, they have... Yeah. She shows up out of nowhere. And then also, we know that she was in a relationship with Haru. So, like, is she, like... Is she... I mean, I feel like there's a lot of just... They're very intimate. So, like, what is the deal?
Yeah.
Is the open question, maybe.
Yeah. And just the way they, like, talk to each other and, like, how Shigure's attitude changes across the scene is pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's like, such a dick. Even more so than other times that he's been a dick. He's like...
And, like, he starts off, like, fairly, like, friendly and, like, acting concerned for her and stuff. But
kind
like,
of, but I think it's fake. Like,
yeah, but that's what I mean. I mean, like, he's, that's why I said acting fairly concerned for
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, the second she starts in and they're like, you know what I want?
Yeah.
And stuff, he's like, oh, do I?
Yeah, he has this, like, kind of forced smile, and then he's like, oh, hey, it's good you're at the hospital, why don't you come in, ha, ha, ha. And she's like, you know why I'm here. And then he's like, do I? Do I know why you're here? What do you want to talk to me about? Are you stupid? Like, it's crazy. He's like, oh, so you think I'm stupid? It's a complete 180.
Yeah.
I almost said it's a complete 360. He's like, he's so great, I love you.
Yeah. But it's kind of interesting, because, like, we don't usually see, like, both of those Shigures in the same scene talking to the same person.
No.
Like, he's usually either, like, got the friendly thing going on, or he's just straight up being a dick to someone. He doesn't usually, like, change on a dime with the same person in the same scene.
I mean, there's been a couple of times where he's, like, been his creepy Shigure self, like, to when he was talking to, like, Hattori.
But a lot of times that was kind of almost more to himself. Like, he's, like, making a comment about, like, his own, like...
It's not like he's not saying you're he's not like, are you dumb to Hattori. He's just kind of like, I'm making my plans. Like, you know, tenting his fingers evilly and glaring. But yeah, in this case, he's like... Yeah.
So just, like another kind of intimacy there, because, like, he's obviously not bothering with the... like, playing around with the facade with Rin, which is just, like, they're aware of each other. It's true nature.
They have whatever it is that she wants, he knows what it is. That's for sure. He already knows. And, like, I don't know. I mean, I always interpreted this scene as, like, I remember first seeing it, and it, well, I don't know. No, I'm gonna talk about this in spoilers. But yeah, because it's hard to not. Yeah. So they definitely, and then they're so close. We've seen, like, Shigure be, and he does, like, so the way they move in the room is also interesting to me, because, like, she comes in, she's all, like, she's outside, so she's lower than him, and then she comes in, and then she's still, like, leaning on him, and then he sits down, and then she kneels. Like, it's really, we see this kind of, like, positional thing with him and Aikido. Like, we've seen that before, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think we can directly say that he's in, like, a position of power over Rin, but he definitely has... She's trying to do something to him. Like, she's there to... She's not... I wouldn't say she's trying to manipulate him, because she's just straight up, like, you know what I'm here for, and he's like, oh, do I? Like, he's kind of... He's manipulating her, actually.
Yeah, she's kind of like, let's not fuck around. We both know what's going on here.
And then he's like, oh, I'm going to fuck around.
Yeah.
Basically.
Like, I'm going to fuck around. What are you talking about?
He's like, get ready.
Yeah. He's like, how should we start this fucking around?
Yeah, basically. That's what it feels like. It feels like a round of a fight where he's like, okay, what do you want to do now? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're here for, but, like, okay, what, you know, I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's so good, so good. Yeah. Just can't wait.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more interesting interactions we've seen between characters.
Yes. Yeah, it is interesting. I felt like these chapters had the first. I feel like we're hitting like a turning point in the series, like narrative wise, because there are a bunch of things that were. First of all, like a million things happened in these 2 chapters, and there's a bunch of stuff that's like, it's like brand new things are getting, I don't know, kind of set up, but it's like, so we have, okay, like the first chapter is we're bouncing back and forth between Tohru, and all these things are kind of setting up overall that Kyo has grown as a person, but it's like we're bouncing back and forth between all these cute things with like Tohru and Kyo essentially, and people commenting about that, and then you have like all the dark stuff that's happening in the house, and the dark things in his past, and you're bouncing back and forth between all those things. In the second chapter, it's like Momiji comes over, he announces the trip, and they need to go do the homework, so then they're separated. Momiji goes to talk to Kyo, so everybody's separated again. Things happen. Tohru goes downstairs, so we transition to Rin showing up, and it's like, it's all getting all these people to be interacting at different times, I guess. So there's a lot of like just mechanical people moving around and setting things up, characters moving around and setting up stuff. But all these plots, it's like we still don't know what Rin is there for. You know, we don't know if something is gonna happen. We know that now that Kyo is set to be locked up, but we don't know. There's a bunch of text that's kind of like, can I change the future? I don't know. Will I be able to achieve the things that I want? Will I ever not be scared of things? Like, there's this setup for like what's going to happen with that, and Cosmo's like, oh, I'll never let that happen. So there's a conflict that's set up here now, and it's like, well, we're not going to get an answer to that. We didn't get any resolution to any of those things that were just set up. So we're getting some new kind of plot threads. Things that have been alluded to a little bit, but I think some things that are sort of kind of new, like all the stuff with Rin is kind of new. Like almost halfway through the series, we're still setting up the plots. It's so good. I'm excited. Yeah. But like this, I think that this kind of like style of bouncing back and forth and having a lot of different characters interacting is going to continue through the rest of this series. It used to be like you'd have like, you know, like one character comes and we just, like Ritsu shows up and then we interact with Ritsu the whole time, and then that's the end of the chapter or the 2 chapters. This is like many threads are being spun in these chapters. I feel like it's going to continue to kind of be like that and be dark. This is setting the tone for the rest of the series too. Actually, starting to get that really dark balancing of things that are cute and things that are really dark. I think that is what I think of that I enjoy the most about Veruba. Okay. Well, that's enough. I think that's a wrap, a non-spoiler wrap for this episode.
Sorry, I just imagined us doing a spoiler wrap.
Like, in West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Exactly like that.
Some sweet beats about spoilers. You can rate and review and subscribe. I think we have a total of like 4 listeners on Stitcher now. Whoa. Ooh. Big numbers.
And that's like what? That's like
it's double. It's a
300% increase from the previous number. So.
You mean from 0?
Yes.
And of course, you can always send us comments and questions and stuff. We got Tumblr, we got Twitter, we got email, probably other stuff, carrier pigeon, etc. Yeah, I don't know. So we're gonna talk about spoilers for these chapters, and if you're not listening to that, then we'll see you next time for anime, and then for chapters 54 and 55.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You want to start spoilers?
Sure, I want to start with a silly one.
Okay, good. I'm ready.
Do you think Kazuma and Hana bond over their taste in literature?
I didn't even thought about that until you just said it just now, even though we just read it.
Yeah. I didn't think of it until this time when it said it was Shigure's book, and I was like, oh.
It's like, ooh, a new book from, like, whatever Shigure's pen name is. They, like, read it together.
Yeah.
They read to each other. It's like some smutty book. Cheap, like, romance novel smutty book. Yeah. So good. I like how he's like, oh, it's Shigure-kun's new book. Like, so charming.
He's apparently so into it that he almost burned his house down.
I know. I like how Kyo's like, I told you not to read and cook, like as if he's done it a million times.
Yeah.
Like I said, as a psycho, I stand by what I said. I love Cosmo, but it's like, bro, don't read and cook if you can't cook. Also, don't read and cook.
Yeah.
This is a public service announcement. I mean,
I listen to podcasts and cook. That's what I do.
That's fine. You can use your hands.
I guess you could listen to like book on tape or I don't know, audiobook. I guess they don't call it a book on tape anymore because tapes don't exist.
What's a tape? My favorite way to troll people is the people are like, oh yeah, blah 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 floppy disk, and I'm like, what's that? They're like, I'm really taken aback for 2 seconds, and then I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. I do know what that is. I'm an old person like you. I mean, I seriously wonder if anybody will know what cribs is. I was like, my joke is so funny when I wrote it, and I was like, oh wait, does that even exist? Do I need to put an explanation of what cribs is?
I think the context covers you there.
I bet like it would be worse if I had made like it'd be worse if I made like a Pimp My Ride joke. Probably nobody knows what that is anymore.
If you said what?
Pimp My Ride.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, I think the
like
yo dog I heard you like.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The meme is still occasionally referenced.
True. I heard you like cookbooks so you can cook. You can read while you cook. I don't know. You're like, you did it wrong.
Yeah. It's like, no, you're right. Don't make that joke.
It's like, who originally said that? Exhibit? Let's keep it that way.
Yeah.
There's 19 seasons of Cribs, just for the record.
Good lord.
It says to present. September 2000 to present. Oh, it originally released September 12th. It's like the anniversary of Cribs, guys.
Oh my god.
Oh, this episode comes out on my birthday. Did you know?
What were we talking about? MTV Cribs?
I don't know. Yeah, Cribs. just an empty fridge with Gatorade. That's what Cosmo's house is like, I imagine. Anyway, why were we were talking about something that was cute? I don't know. I think we said. Probably.
Oh, I said something about books on tape, and then you were talking about dated jokes you were making.
Yes, and I said, "What's that?" Yeah, my favorite joke.
Okay.
Anyway, I have something to say.
Okay.
So many Kyoru moments. So good.
I know.
So good. I was like, this is so
real shippy up in here.
It's real. Yeah, it's getting very, very, very shippy. They're flirting so much, and everybody's commenting about it. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Yuki's all like, the lid, I have to open the lid. What will happen when I open the lid? It's like, bro, no.
Yeah, the lid gets a lot of play coming up here.
Yeah, I guess not this chapter, but next chapter.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about the lid. I was like, I was thinking to myself, jokingly, maybe I should make a lid count. But...
Yeah.
Anyway. Yes. I didn't have anything actually spoilery to say, but it's just like, it's very sweet that it's building up.
Yeah.
It's very sweet and innocent, their romance.
Yeah.
It's funny also in this scene, like, Kyo's not even thinking about that. He just, like, touches the stain, and she's just there. Like, they're just very comfortable with each other, right?
Yeah.
It's very sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just super comfortable with each other in this chapter. It's really very cute.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's like, oh, it's like we can pretend they're normal people with normal, happy lives for a minute.
Oh, and then it's like, cut away to locking Kyo up for life.
Yeah. Especially, like, with them, like, just chit-chatting about, like, swimming and stuff.
Yeah, their little side conversations are all cute. I like that when Shishou comes back in, they've, like, been peeling potatoes, and Kyo has a little piece of potato peel on his shirt and stuff. Like, it's very sweet, too. I guess that's all the spoilers for that chapter. But there's a bunch more for the next one, because Rin is finally here. Finally here. That's my song about Rin.
It's good. I guess we could talk about the...
You want to talk about the hat first?
Well, that the flashback with Kyo was, you know, obviously after Kyoko's death.
Yes, right.
Chapter,
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was too busy thinking about all the shipping. Yeah. Yes, it is. It's not like right after though, because I think right after he's wearing a hoodie still, unless that she just like changed it later. But it's definitely sometime after.
But yeah, but that's obviously why he's like in such a sorry state at the.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like immediately after. Like, is the blood like her blood? Like, is that from the accident or is it from something else? I wonder.
I don't know. I'd have to. I was thinking just like he was like beating himself up with like quote unquote training, but
Maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe that's what was happening. It's possible.
yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to see the scenes and
But it's definitely after that time for sure. That's 100% what's happening.
yeah. And also, we had the whole thing where Cosmo's like, "Why are you blaming Kyo for everything? Do you feel guilty?" with like Kyo's dad, and we learned that he's even more of a dick than we thought because he was also like emotionally abusive to his wife, and that contributed to her suicide. So
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
Yes. Again, another like multifaceted relationship. Like nothing is just one person's anything in this series. I love the comparison of like him and Kyo. I feel like first of all, it's a great burn. It's like Cosmo's weapon, using his words, and then second, it's like it's true. Like you see this comparison of like what Kyo used to be like and how it's then contrasted with what he's currently like, which is nice. So we saw that flashback earlier, which is the one where that has definitely been alluded to. I think that was in the True Form chapters where he's like Cosmo is like, oh, it's at the beginning. It's right before he takes off his beads, right? Because he's like, Cosmo asks Kyo, you know, I don't know. He's like, oh, you like living in this house or whatever, and he's like, oh, it's Yuki's fault and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then he remembers this scene where it's his face. What was the memory was that Kyo's face from that scene where he's like, well, it's all that damn rat's fault that everything is like this or that I'm like this or whatever. So. And now it's interesting also that that's contrasted in this chapter too, because Kyo is like, will I be able to like change things in the future, or like are things going to change? Yeah. So it's like he's even thinking about moving beyond just like where he's at, like as if he wants, you know, something more, which is really interesting. Yeah. You know, he says, will I be able to change the future? It's something that he wouldn't even talk about. In fact, he was really pissed off. Remember when they talked about like, wasn't he like future? Who cares? In like a recent chapter.
Yeah, when they were first talking about the like parent-teacher conferences, I think, or something, when they're talking about having to like talk about their future plans or whatever, and he's like, "Why do I have to answer stuff like that?"
Yeah. And he's also mentioned. We talked about. I know for sure we talked about spoilers about when Kagura is like, or he's like, marriage. What is she thinking? Yeah. Like. Oh, we should have mentioned that in non-spoilers, but like now, of course, it's revealed. All those things now kind of, a lot of his behavior makes sense because he's got this on his mind. Yeah.
And also, like we don't get the full thing of his, like, deal with Aikido yet, but why he's so desperate to defeat Yuki is because he doesn't have that much time left to do that if he wants to join the Zodiac, which would never happen anyway, even if he did accomplish that, but...
I mean, I think, I don't know. I feel like we talked about this also recently, where it's like, I don't think he actually thinks that that's true, but I think he just wants to, he needs something to believe in. He has
to hold on to as a sliver of hope, so.
Yeah, it's like, otherwise, why be concerned about the future?
Yeah, which is also maybe why he's more like, why do I want to think about the future kind of thing, because he's like cares about that less lately.
Yeah, maybe I think he's just starting to, be able to like to just hope for something. Yeah, can we talk about Yuki and the hat? Should we talk about the hat? Another great reveal. What did you go?
I just said the hat.
Oh, okay. It kind of like just did a little cutout for a second, so I didn't hear you. So what I heard was like, I was like, cool. I get that you're kind of excited. I don't know. What I'm picking up on is mild excitement. Yeah, I know. Ooh, finally revealed. Except of course also, but then like still things thrown in that Kyo is still involved, which is interesting. Yeah. Never a full reveal.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. I mean, someday, but like probably quite toward the end, I think, with this one. But yeah.
I think it's during Yuki's like real long flashback. I think they're in the one where he's talking to Kakeru. Yeah, after he gets stuck in the room.
And most of his, like, all the things that are revealed about Yuki later are, like, when he's in a conversation with Kakeru, so... Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think it's the one after he gets, like, an anxiety attack after being locked in the closet with the paint for a minute, and then... yeah. Then he has, like, a long, like, almost volume-long chapter, like, volume-long flashback of all his trauma.
A bunch of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. The other,
a few volumes.
Yes. There's going to be some stuff in the beach. We just started skipping ahead. Guys, the beach arc is coming. Yeah. My note here says beach arc. Yeah.
Next chapter.
But, like,
we're going to be there.
Next chapter. We're going to be at the beach. But like, there's a bunch of like, not like reveals, but I feel like there's a bunch of movement on Yuki's part at the beach too. So we're about to get a bunch of things are gonna happen. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I think we're starting to get into more proactive Yuki. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay, can we talk about Rin?
Sure, let's talk about Rin.
Yes, Rin. I'm so excited, first of all. I remember the first time that I read this, I was like, is she trying to seduce Shigure? Like, that's always what I thought.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Don't we get like more of that scene where she basically is like, will you tell me if I sleep with you or whatever? And he's like, yeah, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah, I feel like that is what's happening, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
Yeah, he's like, no.
Yeah. I think we get like a more full version of that scene a little later.
Or like a different one where she comes back. I can't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah. It could be that it's a more full version of it, or like she comes back. I can't remember. But she definitely comes back and still trying to harass Shigure or look. I think the one, doesn't she, she's looking through his stuff and then Tohru finds her in that one scene. Like, isn't she digging through stuff in his office? I don't know.
I don't remember.
These are yet more things that I'm kind of fuzzy on, so. But they're coming, I know. It's kind of nice, like, this is the... It's nice to read these, like, things that are not as... I don't know as much. I feel like I'm reading it again with fresh eyes. It's wonderful. Like, wow, Kyo's dad is really a dick.
Yeah.
Even more so than I remember.
Yeah. It's kind of funny with the scene with Rin and Shigure is, like, he's actually being fairly honest in that scene, where he's like... Because he's like, I don't know if I'm going to live up to your expectations, because he doesn't actually, know what she's asking for, so...
Yeah, I mean, he's like...
He's being deliberately, evasive about it, but he's actually...
Yes. Like, he doesn't actually know. Like, he says later, like, he doesn't know... He's... I feel like the position that Shigure is in is that he's done the most research about the curse or whatever, like, done the most kind of thinking and exploring of what it could be, and therefore he, like... Rin seems to think that he knows something that other people don't know, but yeah, I think you're right. That's like, yeah, he's not necessarily lying. Like, he's being a dick about it, but
yeah, he's being very Shigure about the whole deal.
Which is kind of funny. It's like, why? I mean, I wonder what his motivation is for that, because shouldn't he want other people to break the curse too? Like, he's trying to do that himself, right?
Yeah. So. Well, I think his motivation for like his interaction with Rin is that he doesn't want to like be straight up like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because he wants her to be, pursuing things and messing with things. Because like, I think as far as he's concerned, it's like, just keep picking at it will eventually.
Yeah. Anybody doing anything to explore any kind of relationship other than this one is probably good. Like, anybody questioning this is a step in the right direction, so it doesn't really matter if she's doing what she's doing.
Yeah, so he doesn't want to be like, I don't know, there probably isn't a way to break it, because he wants her to keep on pursuing it. So
yeah, I think later there's that scene with the two of them and Tohru's like, they're like, well, the curse will probably break eventually, and Tohru's like, no, that won't be soon enough, and they're like, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Yeah,
which is also a great reveal.
Yeah, it's a good scene.
Yeah. But like, yeah, they don't necessarily care how long it takes. It's more, yeah,
because their loved ones aren't going to be locked up in a room after high school graduation.
No. Most likely, yes. But I do think he wants to stay in control of all this situation too. Like, he wants to be the one pulling the strings too. Yeah. So I'm sure that's also why he does it. I mean, it's just part of his deal. So
yeah, like, I think he wants people to be doing stuff, but he wants to know what they're doing. Like,
yeah, so he wants her to come to him and not be doing stuff on her own, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I feel like her tactic changes later from trying to seduce him to like reluctant partner or whatever. And he's the same way.
Yeah, they do a pretty interesting relationship because they're pretty they're pretty straightforward with each other. Like,
yeah, Rin especially.
Yeah. Like, they're both like, it's like, I know who I am, I know who you are.
Yeah, like, whatever, like, let's just like do this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm so excited. Yeah, and then we're about to get some scenes with Akito in these next chapters too. And I'm also excited about that because we haven't seen Akito in a long time, and yeah.
And I think this is like the most Akito we've gotten, like, when we get there. Like,
yeah, all the beach
we mostly
stuff.
get bits and pieces of Akito, but we get a whole lot of Akito at the beach arc.
Yeah, and then of course, I mean, like, Shigure's The only other person that we've seen Shigure try to maintain this like position of power with so far is Aikido, and he does it in a different way, of course. He's like not so evasive, more so like trying to be controlling and also like kind of like dismissive, like passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Especially in these ones we're about to see, he was like, whatever, I don't care. Like I just like come to the beach with me, and yeah.
He seems like he knows very well how to get Aikido to do what he wants Aikido to do, even if Aikido doesn't quite realize
He's good at manipulating everybody.
Yeah,
so.
But I think he's especially knows how to work Aikido, and so it's a little different from how he interacts with other people he's trying to manipulate.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Aikido is highly manipulatable.
Yeah.
By Shigure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not so by other people, but definitely by Shigure.
Some other people.
I think so. Well, yeah, like Ren or whatever, but for different reasons. Yeah.
I think Aikido actually would be pretty manipulatable by other people, and everyone's just too fucking scared to try.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with you. Because Aikido has a core, like insecurity at her core, which makes her manipulatable, right? And Shigure knows that, and so
but most others don't, and
exactly
aren't gonna try to find out. So.
Like Hattori probably knows, but he wouldn't do anything to hurt Aikido, and Kureno probably knows too, but probably has a different relationship that's, he feels, I guess, like obligated to continue to take care of her or whatever. Or like, it's not like obligation, but I guess it's kind of like loyalty. He thinks that he's being loyal to her or something.
Yeah.
I guess you could describe it that way.
Yeah, I think he's driven by like guilt. So.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, especially based on the things we just read with him and Uo, where he's like, I'm sure I'm the happiest of all. Sad smile. Yeah. Extremely dejected smile.
Yeah. Uo's like, dude, I just met you and I can tell you're lying.
Yeah, basically. She's like, are you happy though? Yes. Any other spoilery things to say about this episode? I mean, these chapters?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay. Are there any, like... I felt like at first that these weren't very interconnected, but I wonder if there's any, like, themes that we can say about them. Actually, I mean, I don't know. They're not very tied together. I mean, I feel like there's a couple things across both of them. Like, we see... I don't know if it's really a theme, but, like, it's not... They're talking about how much Kyo has changed, specifically. And things changing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, like... I think I said kind of earlier, I probably didn't explain it in a way that... I didn't vocalize it well, but this is these are chapters with a lot of, like... The second chapter, at least, has a lot of, like, moving parts of people that need to get set up before they go to this beach trip. So, Rin comes again, like... we have to set up how soft Kyo is. Like, what's going on with Yuki has to be brought up again just to, like... This is, like, the study notes for the beach arc or something, where it's like... It's like, we have to see all this, like, okay, just remember, we still don't know that much about... Now we know that it's Yuki in the hat. Like, we had to bring that up again. Yuki has to bring up the lid again and all this other stuff, so...
Yeah.
Just building more tension for the beach arc, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm satisfied with that. Yeah, I don't know. I already said all this stuff, rate and review, subscribe stuff earlier, so... next time we're going to talk about the beach. It's finally time, guys. It's finally time. Everybody get ready.
Yeah, I'm going to declare the theme to be, oh, shit's about to go down.
It's happening! Yes. Yeah, okay, cool. Wow, great. Excellent. Wonderful. Fantastic. Adjectives.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. We'll see you. Thank you all for listening. Listen to us, I struggle. Thank you all. We will see you next time for the beach. Everybody bring your sunglasses and water rings and shit.
Yeah.
Make sure you bring at least SPF 35 sunblock. These are the jokes.
Yes.
Make sure you bring your own jokes next time.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Bye.
So she's wearing knee-high birds. Knee-high. It's Crumorant or whatever.
Just like wrapped around each calf.
It's like, I know Rin's kind of fashion forward, but not that fashion forward.